Well, for more on this story, we can bring in our international affairs editor, Rochelle Ferguson Bouyahi. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi to you, Karis.
Donald Trump has said that one of the biggest surprises in this war has been Iran's attacks on the Gulf states. But does that come as such a shock?
Well, I think, Karis, the response to this is two-pronged. It was widely expected that Iran would ultimately target US bases. Think back to the 12-day war between Iran and Israel when there was that US base that was touched in Qatar. Many have called it a near symbolic strike on Qatar at that moment. But it sowed the seed, essentially, that US bases were not untouchable and that it was a possibility that should there be further escalation in the region, US bases could be the target from Iran. As you're seeing on those images there are strikes that have gone above and beyond a US basis. So we're talking about, military, all sorts of installations that have been touched there. Also, we spoke earlier about key tourist entities. So from the hotels, ports, airports as well. There have been, efforts to disrupt things there. What's been surprising about these attacks, if we talk about this word shock or surprise, is ultimately the scale, it's the breadth, and it's the speed at which Iran has been able to carry out these attacks against multiple countries. The UAE, for example, it's important to remind our viewers on the first day of this war, of course, we're day 13 now, but they received as many drones, as many missiles as Israel did. So it was a real intense campaign, Iran ultimately setting the tone for what's to come. Abu Dhabi and Tehran, let's not forget, they have this gentleman's agreement, you might call it, this idea that neither country is going to go for full-scale confrontation, particularly because Iranians have a number of assets, they have a number of economic interest in Dubai, so it's really not in their interest. There have been a number of questions as to why, why Tehran has chosen to strike Abu Dhabi and indeed Dubai. One of the ideas that's been put forward is that ultimately Iran thinks that the UAE could pressure Washington to stop this before things go even further. There's further escalation. The rest, otherwise, is ultimately this idea that Tehran knows that this is kind of the epicenter, if you will. Dubai is so important to tourism, and that touching Dubai goes above and beyond just the UAE and Dubai, but it also touches the world economy, as we're seeing there, with things coming to a standstill, notably in the Hormuz Straits. There are many surprises in this. Oman is another one that we could just briefly talk about. Oman, known as the friend to all, enemy to none. They've been key in this kind of delicate balancing act between the United States and Iran, and times gone by. So it's interesting to see, it's surprising to see, you might say, that they've been touched as well. They were touched overnight by Iranian attacks. They ultimately, were seen as a mediator in the region. So, if we talk about surprises, Oman is definitely up there. Just finally, Saudi Arabia has repeatedly been struck by Iran. That's surprising because they're seen as the dominant player within the region. If there's any Gulf state that is going to respond to Iran, it would probably, analysts suggest, would be Saudi Arabia. So, we're keen to see how this is going to play out. We know, though, that the warnings that Gulf states gave to Iran in the beginning about not going ahead with a war against Iran is clear. There is growing frustration from Gulf Arab states with this war against Iran.
Indeed, Rochelle Ferguson Bouyahi, thank you very much for that analysis.